And so we've got very different approaches and perspectives here. I'll give my own, is that I became the statistician with the academic record, and I'm like, hey, everyone, look at this. And here's my degree. I'm so proud of myself. And now, as an HOD, my software of choice is Outlook. So a lot of the time you get taken away from what you started doing, and you ended up doing something completely different. But obviously, there is this underlying thread of statistics or computer science, or something that's keeping you going. So where do you guys see us? Where are you guys now, as opposed to where you were when you started? How do you, and I think what I'm getting at is, are you still doing stats, or are you beyond that? So that's like are you getting other people to do your stats? Who wants to take this one first?
I can go first, I don't mind. So when I started at the bank, I was doing 100% stats. I got onboarded, I got a laptop, I think everyone else that happens to them, and I got actually straight away taught how to access the data in servers. And then I did that for some time. Then I think after 3-4 years, you now start building a team together, because after you've kind of proven yourself and that there is value in data, you now have to start, scaling up and help getting more people to start working. And I think we have a couple of people from NMU here who actually we kind of help to build a team. And as you do that, the responsibility grows, because now you're moving away from being hands-on. You're now almost delegating the strategic requirements, but still being held accountable for the science behind the statistics. Then and that keeps on growing, actually. As the more the scale grows, the more strategic responsibility increases. But I just want to touch on where I am now. One thing we found out about last year, because every organization here is investing in data, we realized that success does not actually rely on investing in data or employing more statisticians. It requires us to make sure that every area, especially operational people, are part of our journey. There's no use of having a lot of models in the company, but those models are not integrated in the company's operations area. And therefore, I also realize we have to be ambassadors of democratizing our output, our skills. And I don't mean that every one of us has to make everyone else a statistician, but at least people must understand building blocks. For example, managing data, ethics, which is a big issue, bias. Some of the solutions we develop affect society, and if we don't develop desirable solutions, they will not be used. So literacy, data literacy, there is also AI literacy. We now have to take responsibility of helping everyone else understand the basics of statistics. What is the mean? What is the standard deviation? They might not know how to derive it. And that's what I'm doing in my job today. I'm playing that role with my team as well as other stakeholders in the bank to do that.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, I think that you can see the progression of being the hands-on, and you just kind of like move out of the data to a certain extent, but you see a bigger picture. I'm going to hand it over to Paul. Did you have a similar experience in that?
I think firstly that the panel here among statisticians probably have more of the gift of the gab than the rest. Firstly, otherwise would not have been asked to sit on this panel, kind of a vibe, and because of that, I think that often lends itself towards sitting in meetings a lot and talking to people a lot, which means you're a statistician, but actually you know how to engage with people, and typically that means eventually you get into some form of management because it's about people, right? Yeah. So I think a lot of us might have the story of being a worker bee statistician, eventually being in management, and that might look like an ideal progression and look like there's where the money is. I completely disagree with it, and luckily I think the world is also moving towards a place that specialists are allowed to earn salaries that's bigger than the manager's salary. So that's first and foremost. So I think we will be very biased in this direction of you were a statistician and now you're a manager, and that's the way, that's the ideal way of working in it. That's rubbish. I've got a lot of people on my team, that's half of my team is older than I am, and they are still proper technology experts, either analysts or data scientists, sort of working more with a business, but a specialist, or a more better with a back end of data, being in the data science space. So yes, because I'm a manager, it means I'm a little bit less hands-on in the data. But to be completely honest, I'm still within my team, and obviously I built my team, so yeah, I try to complement my skills and not just add on top of it. I'm still used quite regularly. I'm saying used because that's a role that I play in my team, to be the expert statistician when it comes to probability theory, or actually putting something together that is almost, there's not a proper technique for it, and we have to wing things a bit and be creative and latch on something, and almost from fundamentals build up a new piece of test or something that makes sense. Because our world is not black and white enough that you always have a t-test or a z-test helping you out. So yes, I still do my bit there, even though my role is mostly not. But my technical guys that studied stats and went that career route, they still very much use their statistical ability quite a lot. Yeah, and it's a great asset, I think. I personally think there's I don't know who's on the call, but I think there's a bigger shortage of statisticians than there is computer scientists. My personal opinion.
Thanks, Paul. Does anybody have something to add to that before I jump on to what Paul added, finished up saying? Is everyone still kind of at the beginning parts? And you're still finding your feet, or is there something you'd like to add? Okay. Jess, so, you sorry. Edsia.
Yeah. So I think I use a whole lot of descriptive statistics. So from organizing your data, summarizing your data, in a meaningful way, to choosing the right type of visualizations that can enable you to tell, a certain story that you want to tell. Is it a pie chart? Is it a bubble chart? Is it a bar graph? Is it a histogram? Because I've been in meetings where, you find that certain type of visualizations are used, but for lack of a better word, there could have been better visualizations used that kind of go hand in hand and telling a story. Because doing statistics is all good and well, but there needs to be some form of story that one is able to tell with the data. So there's still a whole lot of that. So averages is still something that's very much heavily used, standard deviation, variances, but it's more from a descriptive perspective.
I think that also speaks to what Mark said about data literacy. I think that everyone says, "Oh, this is a pie chart. I'm never going to use that again." No one looks at pie charts, but I mean, those are par for the course. Those are the big things. And sometimes you find that you've spent so much time focusing on getting some sort of algorithm to run that you forget about how do I best actually represent my data, and you've get stuck in this loop of trying to be too technical and missing, and so that you actually miss the point of the whole of what the data is telling you. Jess, your mic was muted earlier. Did you want to add something?
I was just telling my dog to stop barking.
Oh, okay. Valuable information all around, guys. Look at us contributing everywhere.